Hello ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me in my second video. Doobie Scoots here. Honestly, on my first video I got more views and likes than I expected, so there's many Brea video tech techs out there, so I want to thank you for that. Without further ado though, I'd like to present to you Angus Mackenzie Superfriends. He is 1 white, 1 blue, 1 green. He's a 2/2 legendary human cleric. For 1 white, 1 blue, and 1 green, you tap him and you prevent all combat damage. So a lot of the ways that your planeswalkers get taken out of the field is through combat damage, and Angus Mackenzie helps protect your planeswalkers. So start off with the ramp. I have a Soul Ring, Azorius Signet, Celestia Signet, Sapphire Medallion, Felwar Stone, Carpet of Flowers. Odds are someone in your pod is going to be running blue. This can net you some mana. Smothering Tithe, Farseek, Cultivate, Birds of Paradise, Bloom Tender, Feyburrow Elder, Mariah's Wake for double mana. Then we get into some protection spells. We have Lightning Greaves, Teferi's Protection, Dovin's Veto, Fierce Guardianship, a free counterspell with Angus Mackenzie on the battlefield, regular old classic counterspell. We got a Swords Plowshares, a Nature's Claim for some removal, Aura Shards, definitely a powerful card for artifact and enchantment removal. Run a Wrath of God, Time Wipe, as of some creatures for utility and protection. We have Fogbank. It is a wonderful flyer. It's a 0/2, but it prevents all combat damage, so it blocks something pretty hefty. Dryad of the Illusion Grove. It is pretty much a chromatic lantern on a stick and lets you play additional lands. Cure's Follower is in the deck, so you can untap Angus Mackenzie for another player's turn and be able to use him to protect your planeswalkers. Grand Abolisher, so that no one can counter your planeswalkers or activate any abilities during your turn. Deep Glow Skate, very powerful card in this deck. It pretty much doubles the counters on your planeswalkers, getting them to their ultimates faster. Run a Captain Cisse. When you tap her, you can search for a legendary card, and that's pretty much any walker you want. You just tap her and pretty much find a planeswalker that you need at the time. Spark Double. Why not have 2 Angus Mackenzies or 2 of the most powerful planeswalkers you have out on the board at the time? Clever Impersonator. It comes out as a copy of, let's say, Doubling Season, or pretty much any planeswalker. Like if it's down on its luck, you can Clever Impersonate it and it comes out with all of its counters. Regrowth for a little bit of graveyard recursion. Enlightened Tutor, mainly used to find your Doubling Season, or your pretty much you just hunt for an enchantment or artifact that you need at the time. Idyllic Tutor is also used to hunt down your Doubling Season. Run a Planar-wide Celebration. What it does is mainly to proliferate 4 times. For 7 mana, you can put 4 loyalty counters on your planeswalkers and get them to their ultimates. Oath of Teferi, another enchantment that you'd like to tutor for with Enlightened Tutor or Idyllic Tutor. Enters the battlefield, and if flickers one of your permanents until end of turn, but the main part is to activate loyalty abilities of planeswalkers you control twice each turn rather than once. Very powerful. Inexorable Tide. Every time you cast a spell, you proliferate. Big card here, Doubling Season. So whenever you cast your planeswalkers, it pretty much enters with double the loyalty counters. If you have this in play, there's many planeswalkers that come out and you can immediately use their ultimates. Mirror Maid to copy any powerful enchantment or artifact on the battlefield. And now we're going to start getting into the meat and potatoes. Everything else was just a side salad. So we start off with Teferi, Master of Time. You can activate him on anyone's turn. That alone is really strong. +1, you can draw a card and discard a card. -3, you target creature you don't control phases out. And activating that on other people's turn is real powerful. It helps protect your walkers. And then -10, you can take 2 extra turns. Teferi the Time Raveler. Each opponent can cast spells only any time they could as a sorcery. So once again, that helps protect you from counter spells and anything, any kind of instance that they may do on your turn. So his +1 is until your next turn, you can cast sorcery spells though they had flash. So that's really powerful if you have a wrath effect in your hand, and before it gets to your turn, like if someone casts a Craterhoof Behemoth or whatnot and wants to swing in to finish everyone off, you can have that ability where you can instantly cast your Wrath of God or Time Wipe and blow up the board. His -3 is return up to 1 target artifact, creature, or enchantment to its owner's hand, and you get to draw a card. Teferi, Temporal Archmage. Very powerful card as well. I like to use its -1 a lot to untap 4 target permanents. It helps you continue to cast spells on your turn. His -10 though, if you get that off, people pretty much scoop at that point. You get an emblem where you can activate your planeswalkers at instant speed on pretty much anybody's turn. So you get, let's say if you're in a 4-man pod, you get 4 activations of planeswalkers throughout the entire turn. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. +1 is draw a card. Beginning of the next end step, untap 2 lands. His -3 is you can bounce a permanent to someone's hand, or I'm sorry, not in the hand, but on the library, 3rd from the top. Just helps remove. And then if you get his emblem, whenever you draw a card, you exile target permanent opponent controls. Jace the Mind Sculptor. I really only use him for his Brainstorm effect, or his -1 to bounce a creature to their owner's hand. Jace, Architect of Thought. He makes opponent's creatures weaker by -1, -0 until end of the next turn, I believe. Until your next turn, all their creatures get -1, -0 if they attack. So -2 is like a small factor fiction. You look at reveal the top 3 cards, and opponent separates those cards, and you put which stack you want in your hand. But his ultimate is extremely powerful. You get to search everyone's library for a card and put it into the battlefield, even yours. So that could help win the game right there. Jace, Unraveler of Secrets. +1, scry 1, draw a card. Really good. You can bounce a creature for -2, and then his ultimate is you get an emblem. Whenever an opponent casts their first spell, it's countered automatically. Venzer here. You can exile something until end of turn, and it returns at the next end step. -1 creatures are unblockable, but he's mainly in there for his ultimate. You get an emblem whenever you cast a spell, you can exile something. Sarah the Benevolent, I believe she is an underrated planeswalker. Her +2 isn't really too good for creatures you control with flying, get 1/1 until end of turn. We don't have too many creatures in this deck, but her -3 does produce a body, create a 4/4 flying angel. It's a pretty good blocker. And then her emblem, though, is if you control a creature, damage to that would reduce your life total less than 1, reduces it to 1 instead. So if you have that emblem in a creature, you pretty much can't die by your life reaching 0. Will Kenrith here. Until end of turn, up to 2 target creatures lose their power and toughness. They just get 0/3, and they lose all their abilities. So this card can help shut down pesky commanders or big creatures that can swing in on you with trample, anything like that. -2 is a good draw outlet. You can draw 2 cards, and then you get 2 colorless less off of your instant, sorcery, and planeswalker spells. -8 is target player gets an emblem. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery, you get to copy it. Gideon, ally of Zendikar. Until end of turn, he becomes a 5/5 human ally creature with indestructible. Mainly I use him for a 0, though. You get him out there and you just put some blockers out there. Put a 2/2 knight ally creature token on the battlefield. I've never used his -4, get an emblem, creatures you control get +1/+1. But mainly is used to just get out there and get some creatures on the battlefield to help block your planeswalkers. Nissa, who shakes the world. You tap the forest for mana, add an additional green. You can put 3/1/1 counters onto a non-creature land you control, untap it. I like to use that mainly just to untap it and use the mana again, but it also produces blockers if you need it. For -8, you get an emblem where all your lands are indestructible. So if you do happen to have some +1/+1 non-creature land or some creature lands out there, they are indestructible and can help block threats to come at your planeswalkers. Cameo Field Researcher. So you choose 2 target creatures until end of turn. Whenever either of those creatures deal damage, draw a card. You can tap up to 2 target non-land permanents and they don't untap, so that's pretty good for protection as well. But mainly, once again, her ultimate, you draw 3 cards and you get an emblem where you can cast non-land cards from your hand without paying their mana costs. So you get to draw 3 cards and you get a free omniscience. Very strong. I love the Japanese altered art War of the Spark Planeswalkers. If you don't know what this one is offhand, this is Tameo, Collector of Tales. What she does as a static ability is spells and abilities your opponent's control can't cause you to discard cards or sacrifice permanents. So that's very good for against the aristocrat style decks, where they're making you sacrifice permanents. Eldrazi Annihilator, things like that cannot cause you to sacrifice. And her +1 is you choose a non-land card name, then reveal the top 4 cards of your library, put all cards with the chosen name from among them into your hand, and the rest into your graveyard. And her -3 is a little bit of recursion. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Freyalise, the Llanowar's Fury. Love this card. Not only does it +2 produce a 1/1 that can tap for green, it produces bodies. It's -2 destroys artifacts and enchantments, so it's got removal on it as well. And if you have a ton of green creatures, it helps you draw a lot of cards. But I just mainly use that +2 and -2 to remove threats and to get out bodies to help block for your planeswalkers. Got the Dovin, Architect of Law. So +1, you gain 2 life to draw a card. -1, tap target creature, doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. And then -9, tap all permanents target opponent controls. That player skips their next untap step. This game is this card, for example, has won me a couple games just from its -9, preventing someone from untapping and pretty much taking their turn. It pretty much gives you an extra turn. Narset Transcendent. You can look at the top card of your library. If it's a non-creature, non-land card, you reveal it and put it in your hand. So it's pseudo card draw. -2, if you cast an instant sorcery, it gets rebound. So if you have a wrath effect that you cast on your turn and you happen to use that ability, people are less likely to put creatures out there because as soon as it's your turn again, boom, there's another wrath effect. And then -9, you get an emblem with your spell. Your opponents cannot cast non-creature spells. So the only thing they can do is cast creatures at that point. Garrick the Wild Speaker, +1 untap 2 force, or no, 2 target lands in general. So it's pretty much helps you ramp. And he also produces a 3/3 body to help block your creatures or your planeswalkers. And then creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample on 10 of turn. I have used that to close out the game with a lot of soldier tokens and a lot of bodies out there. Oko Thief of Crowns probably doesn't need any introduction. You can create food tokens, or you can turn an artifact creature into a 3/3 elk. This card gets rid of troublesome planeswalkers. Him being out there, or troublesome commanders, I should say. Him just being out there alone usually stops people from casting their creatures until they can remove Oko. And his -5, you exchange control of target artifact creature you control and target creature and opponent controls with power 3 or less. So you can swap a food token for a pretty decent utility creature that's on the battlefield. Johnny Steadfast, mainly used for his -2. His +1 gives creature +1 first strike visit on its lifelink, but his -2 puts a 1/1 counter on each creature you control and a loyalty counter on each other planeswalker you control. So he helps your other planeswalkers reach their ultimates faster. And if you do get his emblem, if a source would deal damage to you or a planeswalker you control, prevent all but 1 of that damage. Mentor of Heroes, also mainly used for his second ability. You can distribute 3 1/1 counters among 1, 2, or 3 target creatures you control. But mainly it's look at the top 4 cards of your library. You can reveal an aura, creature, or planeswalker card. So it helps dig for your planeswalkers. And then you can gain 100 life if you get his ultimate. So that's pretty good too. Just having an instant 100 life automatically. Elspeth Knight Errant. She creates bodies to block 1/1 soldiers, and then you can make something 3/3 and flying into end of turn, which I usually just use the +1 to get 1/1 soldiers. And her ultimate is fantastic. You get an emblem with artifacts, creatures, enchantments, and island or lands you control are all indestructible. So that is very strong. Sun's Champion pretty much has everything you need for this deck. You put 3 1/1 white soldier creature tokens on the battlefield. Just for a +1, you get 3 bodies. Her -3 is destroy all creatures power 4 or greater, so she has a board wipe on her as well. And then -7 helps close out games if you need it, where all your creatures get 2/2 and flying permanently. Cure the Crashing Wave. You pick a creature and it prevents all the damage that creature, or permanent I should say, can do. So you just use her to stop a threat. Her -1 is draw a card and play an additional land. And then -5 is at your end step, you get a 9/9 Kraken. So every time you end your turn, you get a big body. Ugin the Spirit Dragon. This card is very powerful. That's all there is to it. +2, you can deal 3 damage to any target. His minus X, you just remove loyalty counters, and you can exile everything that has a colored, with one or more colored. So if you minus 5, everything with 5 casting costs or less gets exiled. And minus 10, with doubling season, this is just crazy. Put it out there. You gain 7 life, draw 7 cards, and you can play 7 permanent cards from your hand. I've had ultimates with this where, you know, you get doubling season and like 3 or 4 planeswalkers, and then you drop them all, and then all of a sudden you got 4 ultimates coming at all your opponents. It's just ridiculous. Now we get into the lands. I believe I'm running 5 of each land, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, there's 5 planes. Oh, 6 islands. I believe there's 5 forests. Nope, I'm wrong. 6 forests. So 6, 6, and 5. Evolving Wilds. Terramorphic Expanse. Running a Maze of Ith. This is great to stop a attacker. Untap target attacking creature, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to and dealt by that creature this turn. Reliquary Tower. Karn's Bastion, used to help proliferate your planeswalkers. Temple of Enlightenment, blue-white Scryland. White-green Scryland, Temple of Plenty. Command Tower. Seaside Citadel. Krosenberg, help to tutor 2 forests, or a forest and a plains card. Apologize. Windswept Heath. Savannah. Yavimaya Coast. Prairie Stream. Sungrass Prairie. Sky Cloud Expanse. Canopy Vista. And finally, a Nimbus Maze. Once again, thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Be sure to put that thumbs up on there if you like the video, and we'll see you on the next one.